Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on The War of the End of the World by Mario Vargas Llosa. This edition was translated by Helen Lane, and I believe it was published in 1981. And this is a story where it's a novelization of the real conflict that happened in early 19th century Brazil in a town called Canudos. There was a man called the counselor who would go around different towns and villages, and he would preach about forgiveness and salvation. He would preach to the people that were considered outcasts at the time, the poor, the disabled, the sick, criminals, you name it. He would talk to them and he would befriend them and also preach to them. And over time, he amassed thousands of followers. Eventually, all of his followers settled in a remote area called Canudos, and they built their own settlement there and their own society. They had kind of a more libertarian way of ruling, or a more free type of government. They didn't believe in marriage or exchanging money or even having money. They didn't want to be a part of the census. Naturally, the government of the time had an issue with the settlers here, and of course the counselor. They had kind of an attitude of, well, who do you think you are to not be part of government rule and all of this other stuff? So they decided to send a small army to the settlement to kind of take care of the problem. But they're surprised when the people of Canudos fight back. They sent another army, and again, it's the same thing. It's a slightly bigger army, but at this point, Canudos was full of thousands of people who were all willing to fight back. So that second army insurgents fails, and so they decide that enough is enough, and they're going to be bringing a big army to finally take care of Canudos. So that ends up being this big war between the Canudos settlers and the army of Brazil. That's what kind of the story is about. The story is structured in dozens of points of view. Llosa has done this in the past in the other book that I read by him. He is a masterful storyteller in terms of points of view. I think he really likes using that tool because he can give you an overview of pretty much every angle of the conflict that's going on. And so he does that in this instance. He gives you the points of view of people that are part of the army, the settlers, the followers of the counselor that are part of his circle, the political governments, and also anybody else that has kind of a direct, that is directly influenced by whatever's going on in Canudos. So there's at least 12 to 15 different points of view here. There's also jumping back and forth in time, and he structures it in a way where you can see kind of the rise of the counselor over time, the settlement of Canudos, the various different wars, the smaller wars, and then finally the big war, and then at the end kind of what happens to finish everything. So he kind of is covering a lot of ground here, and so that's why this book is almost 600 pages. I did enjoy the different points of view. I thought that it gave the best indication of what religious fanatics and this fervor of belief in someone who you believe is sent by God, how that can affect a group of people from all walks of life, and how that can kind of motivate them and unite them in a common purpose. I thought the points of view were very fascinating. They were able to really illustrate how you can kill people, but you cannot kill an idea. And I saw a lot of parallels between the religious fanatics of the Canudos settlers and how nowadays, or over history, you've seen people's strong beliefs, whether it's belief in a religious being or belief in a cult kind of leader, how those beliefs can drive different things to happen in history, how a lot of people can end up being killed, how innocent people are killed. And obviously it made me think a lot about the Middle East and the issues that are happening there, and how, you can't really kill the belief of a group of people. And even once you feel like you think you've wiped out a group of people, the idea can still grab hold of one or two people who can carry that idea forward. So that was very interesting to me, and I really enjoyed it. My issue with this book was the length. It's just way too long, but I just can't see how Llosa would have done it in any other way. That said, it is kind of a chore to go through because you are keeping track of so many different points of view, so many different things happening in the war. There's just a lot of things at play here that when you kind of near the end, you're just waiting for it to be resolved or for it to just end. I did enjoy reading it. As you can see, I have a lot of different tabs. I did so much annotating in this book. I wanted to keep track of the different characters and their motivations, because they are motivated by something different. I also wanted to keep track of the main followers of the counselor because they also play a role. It was just very fascinating and immersive and really beautifully structured, but towards the end I just wanted it to be over. So those are my thoughts on The War of the End of the World. I would recommend this book for anybody who's into historical fiction or more realistic historical fiction, because you can tell that Llosa did a lot of research for this book, and that if you were to research this conflict like I did, there's going to be a lot of things that he kept in here that were part of the real conflict that happened back then. If you're into the idea of religious groupthink, or if you're curious about like how a cult can form, then I highly recommend that you pick this up. And yeah, if you've already read this or you've read anything similar to this, let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.